I'd like to start by recognizing a few of our guests, starting with our guest of honor, Professor William Ampofo, the keynote speaker and country director of GIZ, Dr. Dirk Assman. Of course, also our deans, our directors at the university, and country technical lead of the RISA Fund, and representatives from the different pharma and pharma representatives in the room. And then I'll now introduce the chair and our host, the founding director of WACCBIP and the committee, the chair of the NVI Vaccine R&D Committee, Professor Gordon Awandare, to take it from here.
Good morning to you all. Our distinguished guest of honor, Nana Professor William Ampofo. He's a chief who chews guns. So be mindful. Your Excellency, the country director for GIZ, Dr. Dirk. I see that my friend has just arrived. Thank you very much, Farhan. Deans and directors present, deputy directors of WACCBIP, colleagues, good morning to you all. It's a great honor to welcome all of you to WACCBIP this morning and to the University of Ghana, Ghana's premier university, Ghana's hope and glory. I hope you know that this is the #1 university in Ghana. And we set the pace for the others to follow. And in that regard, today we are hosting this very historic forum where we are bringing stakeholders in the vaccine development space in the country to share ideas and discuss where we are as a country in terms of our capacity to make vaccines and where we need to go. Today here we have the entire pipeline from the basic scientist, which is represented by WACCBIP, where you sit. Noguchi people are here, Professor Makusi and others are here. I don't know if KCCR is here. And then all the way to the manufacturing, Farhan is here. And then our development partners, of course, GIZ and others. Our chief himself is here in the National Vaccine Institute, who has been so, strong in pushing for some of the changes that we've been asking for many, many years. Indeed, the establishment of the National Vaccine Institute is a significant step taken by the president of this country to demonstrate the commitment of this country to, make a significant change in our national capacity to make our own vaccines and to be self-reliant. We all remember when COVID struck, the anguish of waiting for crumbs of vaccines from other countries. They would share vaccines with us only after they have taken care of their people, which is logical, right? And they were able to make vaccines in record time because they had existing infrastructure, they had existing facilities, existing technology, and most importantly, existing human resource with the capability to take a new pathogen and turn it around and use their existing structures to make a vaccine within a short period of time. And this is what we have to aspire to be able to do. So we are setting up structures to be able to make vaccines that we routinely use, but also make us stand in readiness to be able to adapt and respond to any emerging pathogens that we may encounter. So ladies and gentlemen, it promises to be an interesting morning. We look forward to the discussions and the engagement, and most importantly, what happens going forward. So at this juncture, it's my honor to introduce my big brother, Nana Chief, CEO of National Vaccine Institute, and overall patriot of Ghana, to come and talk to us. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. It's okay. Good morning, everybody. All protocols observed. As I was coming, I was listening to the radio, and today is Green Ghana Day. So His Excellency the President is being hosted by all the military chiefs, the defense minister, all of them. They are at Bema Camp in the Nicholson Stadium, and they are discussing the planting of trees to combat climate change. So it struck me that one of the places that trees will be planted today is the University of Ghana campus. And I feel very, how do I say? I don't want to use the word welcome, but I feel at home whenever I drive through the campus, because I was in the zoology department. Okay, I did some biochemistry here. And then I lived on campus, and I worked at Noguchi. I still work at Noguchi. I'm still a University of Ghana person. Okay, I'm on some kind of leave. But I was not surprised to hear that the University of Ghana is including a tree planting program. And I think it relates significantly with what we are discussing today. This forum on vaccine research and development, because it is the significant contribution of Noguchi, WACCBIP, the University of Ghana, and other institutions to the COVID-19 effort that gave us the platform to convince the president that we needed to have a special program on vaccine research, development, and manufacturing in Ghana. So again, when he was starting his address, he ended with fellow Ghanaians. And remember, during one of his fellow Ghanaian addresses, he then referred to the need to look at vaccine research and development and manufacturing in Ghana. And he set up a presidential committee, and the presidential committee did an assessment and recommended the establishment of the National Vaccine Institute. So we know the politics in Ghana, So one very significant part of this approach was that the Vaccine Institute and the program for vaccine research, development, and manufacturing should be backed by an act of parliament. So when there's a change in government, the National Vaccine Institute and this particular program is set in stone. It will continue. If somebody wants to change it, they'll have to go to parliament and fight and argue and debate, to change this program. But already the fact that we have gathered here this morning shows the significance of this, important milestone. It was not difficult at all when we were discussing with GIZ colleagues to sponsor such a program this morning here at WACCBIP. This is because research and development is a cornerstone of vaccine manufacturing. During my days working on influenza, I used to be part of a special global advisory committee at the World Health Organization. And one of the things that we discussed was a global plan for the production of influenza vaccines to ensure that should there be a pandemic, there would be enough manufacturing capacity to be able to produce pandemic vaccines from seasonal vaccines. I did remember that at one of the meetings, there was a manufacturer from India who complained that they were making 1 million doses of influenza vaccines and the Indian government was not buying. Fast forward to COVID-19 pandemic, we were crying for vaccines because there were no vaccines initially, to share with us. So clearly, the need for us to develop our own manufacturing capacity, the need for us to be able to do research and development to feed our manufacturing and to be able to make our own vaccines is a major issue. So we will hear later on today the efforts on some of the wonderful work that is going on at Noguchi, at WACCBIP, and also one of the most exciting things are private sector, efforts also in basic sciences that will also enable us to make vaccines. And then also we hear from the regulator. So we have a wonderful program lined up. And I would like to assure you that the National Vaccine Institute will fully support all work that is geared towards the production of candidate vaccines that our private sector can take forward, to actually full-scale and manufacture. When we did the assessment as a presidential committee, we realized that sometimes the impression is given that there is nothing, happening. But actually we realized that there was a lot going on in the research institutions in academia. My own group produces what we call influenza antigens that are circulating and shares with the WHO group that actually influences the decision on the type of influenza vaccine that is made each year. And Ghana was one of the few countries that continued to share influenza antigens during the COVID-19 pandemic, 2019, 2020. So some of the really basic work that we do, in our different programs, does make a significant global effort. You will hear about the malaria antigen discovery and other stuff later on. So we will continue to push government to commit resources. Already some resources have been made available to support research and development. And I think at another forum we'll discuss how that will support, some of you. Those of you looking for jobs, you should be looking out. We'll be advertising soon to pick, those who are suitable to work at the Vaccine Institute. Don't call my phone, just respond to the advert. And if you're suitable, we'll do the assessment and then hopefully we'll make use of your skills. I think the final thing I'd like to mention is the wonderful support from the GIZ and from the European Union. Right from the beginning, they supported the Presidential Committee, and we work very closely with them at the National Vaccine Institute. So as I mentioned, it is very gratifying that we are having this forum with support from the EU through the GIZ. And incidentally, we will be having various programs with the EU and the GIZ going forward. If you've been watching the news, you'd have heard about a big program to support pharmaceutical production and vaccines in Ghana over the next 4 years that the EU is supporting through and also with support from the German government. So much as we will grow our trees, I see you as my skills in handling guns and blank bullets. So I thought he was acting as the MC, but he's asking me to introduce Our keynote speaker, Dr. Dirk Abman from the GIZ. He's the new country director, and I've been interacting with him by email and WhatsApp and electronic messages. So today is the first time for us to meet in person, and I'm very happy that he's here with us. I was congratulating him on his wonderful political suit. He's already, learned the customs in Ghana. And so, Dirk, you're welcome to give us the keynote address. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks a lot for the very warm welcome. I liked you started in a very informal way with all protocol observed. I'd like to continue in this way because we are here amongst friends, cooperation partners, I feel at home as well. Well, I didn't study here at the university, but I always at universities I feel at home, because before joining GIZ I worked in the academia for almost a decade. So I'm always very glad to not only to visit universities and research institutions, but also to cooperate with them, because in my opinion as well, research and development cooperation needs to be close together. And of course it's a great honor for me to be here, and I'm pleased to be able to speak to you today. When you believe in scientific evidence, and I guess we all here in the room, we believe in it, it's obvious the topic of vaccine research and vaccine manufacturing that we are discussing today are extremely important. But I'm also pleased to be here because just over a fortnight ago I also wanted to say a few words during a vehicle handover to the National Vaccine Institute, but flooded roads put a spanner in the works for me and my colleague. So it's all the better that it worked out today. And thanks a lot to WACCBIP and NVI that I can take the opportunity to talk about these important topics, challenges and successes in this area, which by the way, are only possible when partners have a shared vision, face challenges together, and have common goals in mind. If you're from Ghana, from Europe, or from wherever. According to the World Health Organization, over 154 million lives have been saved through global immunization efforts in the last 50 years. 150 million lives. I guess it's very impressive. This translates to saving the lives of 6 people every minute of every year over the last half decade. Significantly, 146 million of these lives saved were infants. Well, these are really huge numbers, but human beings tend to underestimate huge numbers. But it's more than a number. It means that vaccines saved the life of people we love. Your brother, your daughter, your nephew, your wife, or close friends. So without vaccines, also this room would be less occupied today. Look around, some of your neighbors wouldn't be sitting here. The development of vaccines against 14 major diseases like diphtheria, hepatitis, polio, and among others, has also helped to reduce child mortality by 40% worldwide and by more than 50% in Africa. And of course, in addition, pandemics such as the recent COVID pandemic have been kept under control through vaccination. The production of vaccines is therefore of central importance for global health security. But it also offers immense opportunities to economic growth, which we are at GIZ from the German Development Corporation see as an integral part of our work. Vaccine manufacturing creates new jobs. You already heard, so just apply at the NVA. Creates new jobs in the entire value chain from research to manufacturing and generates revenue and foreign exchange that can boost the Ghanaian economy. Countries like India, China, South Korea, Netherlands, Denmark, and others, Germany, are good examples of countries where revenues from the vaccine or pharmaceutical industry have contributed significantly to economic growth. For example, in Germany, the contribution of the pharma industry to the GDP, to the gross domestic product, is about 30 billion US dollar, which is about 40% of the total GDP in Ghana. So there's a huge economic potential. The Ghanaian government has also recognized this and wants to turn Ghana into the vaccine manufacturing hub in the sub-region. But how can vaccine production be advanced in the country? Well, one key area is, of course, research and development. They are at the heart of vaccine production. However, for research institutes such as the WACCBIP to work successfully, considerable investment in laboratory equipment, in personnel, and know-how is required. Therefore, German Development Corporation and the European Union are working with the National Vaccine Institute and research institutes such as the WACCBIP, as well as with the private sector. We hope to focus on in the following areas in the future, in the next year, on regulation and framework condition, connecting research and industry, which is very important as well, and very often quite challenging. Strengthen local producers of pharmaceutical products and qualifying staff in all areas. And the connecting, I would like to thank all partners once again for their cooperation. Only together we can succeed in strengthening the Ghanaian vaccine and pharmaceutical industry and truly make the country a global player in this sector. And finally, I'd like to put on the table a question. You mentioned that this university is #1 in the country. Last week I visited the KNUST. They mentioned the same. So this will be interesting for me to hear the arguments, but I think Ghana can be proud of having at least these two, and there are more than this, but at least these two excellent universities. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much to our distinguished guest for those very lively comments. So we are going to take a short break to have some photographs taken, and then our distinguished country director would have to go to work, so he will leave us whilst we continue the program. So we'll take a picture of the VIPs here first, and then we'll take a group picture with everybody outside. So the rest of you can go to the front of the building. We'll join you there for a group picture shortly. Thank you.
All right. I think that's the good thing of when you don't have political speakers. You can move fast. There's no long speeches. So we are running a bit ahead of schedule, but I think we'll still take advantage of that and continue the schedule. So this is a R&D forum. So we are going to start the academic research output portion of it, which now we are about 35 minutes ahead of time. So we thank our keynotes, our chair and guest of honor for buying us that time. And hopefully the academics are not going to steal too much of that time. Without much ado, I'll call the first speaker, Dr. Yawa Niwe, who will come and present malaria antigen discovery at WACCBIP. That's work that we've been doing over the last 10 or so years.
Okay, good morning. Yeah, so I'll be presenting on the efforts at WACCBIP towards vaccine discovery or vaccine target discovery. And most of the work that we do in the malaria lab focus not only on falciparum but in the spectrum of Plasmodium. So if you hear me present it in the Plasmodium, I mean Falciparum ovale malariae. Okay. So if you're to be talking about malaria vaccine, then we have to look at it in the context of the global vaccine landscape. So if we to look at over the history of human, have we ever been successful in designing vaccine against a eukaryotic pathogen? That is the big question, and have we? No. Over the years, what has been the tools used in eukaryotic pathogens are other biologics that have been employed, but not necessarily vaccine. So that is one of the biggest conundrum that malaria poses. Since it's a eukaryotic pathogen, it is difficult to really be able to design and have very good targets that will be highly immunogenic enough. So looking at the vaccine landscape, it is very evident that anytime there is vaccine, we are able to end disease. So if you look at polio, you look at yellow fever, many of us here have been yellow fever vaccinated, and once you are born, it is given to you. So once the tool is there, it is easy to now use it to curb the onslaughts of the disease. So one particular thing that we do, and what we've been asking basically is, so if you look at malaria as a disease, there are two things. The disease, which is as a result of the pathogen in you, so the reaction that your body poses to it is what we are talking as the disease. But then the pathogen also living in you is another thing altogether. So we have normally what we say anti-infection, or it is anti-disease. So these are the angles that we look at it from. And one thing is that to be able to have a good vaccine, it should be stable and it should be effective, and also the half-life, how long it will be able to protect an individual against the pathogen, should also be something that is. And in the case of malaria, we know that if we sample us here and we find people with the parasites in them. One thing that is very common is that the parasite from person A might be different from person B. And that is the wisdom of the parasite. We know it as a small organism, but it does not have a brain, but it's very smart. And people believe that it has co-evolved with man for a long time, and therefore it has that memory. So you need something that is strain transcendent. So if we give to person A, it should protect. If we give to person B, it should also protect. So, like we said, it is easy to define, but difficult to really be able to achieve. So that is the initial mindset we need to have. There's no need to deceive yourself that you just get a magic bullet and go. So looking at our parasite life cycle is, first of all, complex. And the other thing that makes it very difficult is that if you look at even the parasite now entering your red blood cell to cause the disease, the number of antigens it uses are a lot. So the simple question is that even if we say that the possible vaccine candidate should be here, which one will you prioritize over the other? And that is one of the biggest problems the field has faced. So if you come to WACCBIP, the approaches we use in vaccine research, we have groups that are looking at the target discovery and also looking at the possibilities of reverse vaccinology. Others are looking at the mechanism by which the possible vaccine will be able to elicit the protection that we want. Others are also looking at now what we call designer vaccines, where you look at possible areas of the antigens that you will be using, and you don't want to use the whole thing. You want to look at specific regions and put them together into a form that will be able to protect. And also others are using in silico methods to identify some of these candidates. This protein, it binds to a protein on the red blood cell surface